Well, democracy is a journey, as they say, and for some, they have argued, especially in Nigeria, that the country hasn't actually been about democracy. And this is because of the long, bumpy, arduous journey in the last 22 years, albeit still dubbed a young democracy. Nigeria's democracy is being tested by the times, and the people don't trust their leaders, further extending the gap between the drivers and their destination. Nigerians, passengers in this journey may be active or passive, but alertness to how the driver controls the wheel is important in getting to a safe destination. Internal democracy is our focus today. Welcome to VSA. I'm Sulaiman. Well, the destination, democracy, the journey, democracy, the drivers, leaders, the people, passengers, and all concerned and involved have not worked to make a smooth ride yet. Now, smooth roads, they say, make bad drivers. But have these Nigerian drivers been good despite the rough roads? Up for discourse on the square today, we have some Nigerians who will be telling us what they think about democracy. Now, marginalization in Nigerian democracy is widespread, with several groups complaining and feeling not represented enough. As youth call for better representation, women are not left out, and there is the basis of the calls for a constitution review. Now, the question is the role of elections in building good democracies and the specific, unique characteristics that Nigeria's democracy has so far shown. A whole lot happening in Nigeria at the moment, but again, the big gist has it that when it comes to internal democracy, a lot of things are being asked, especially when political parties move towards an election year. Talk of congresses, which have become a thing whereby a lot of people, well, it's either a case of bickering, between would-be members of the same political party, and again, in what Nigerians have just witnessed in Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos, what you call parallel congresses for the All Progressives Congress. And that will be a bit of what we'll be talking about today, as they have a lot of other leaders emerging from different congresses that have been, conducted in the state. Now, Nigerians have been commenting about this particular event of the All Progressives Congress, and of course, this will also snowball into what the conversation will look like as the country moves into the 2023 election. That's the notion that the Congress, to be recognized by the party, must have the approval of the National Working Committee. Now, who gets the nod of the National Working Committee is down to internal politics. And of course, the NWC, that's the National Working Committee of any political party, will always, as usual, ignore what they call a parallel Congress. Joining me now to talk more about democracy and internal democracy in Nigeria as the country moves into an election year in 2023 is the country director, Policy House International, Taiwo Akerele, who's also a political scientist. Good to see you, Taiwo, and thanks for your time. Quickly, this is just not about Nigeria alone, but about what many have witnessed around the continent. Let's start by, allowing you wear your political scientist hat for a bit and tell us what do we mean when we say democracy before we start talking about internal democracy.
Thank you, Sulaiman. I'm excited to be part of this discussion this evening. The practice of internal democracy in sub-Saharan Africa has been a subject of discourse and of course controversy over the years, particularly since the advent of democratic practice in the region. You recall that this pre-colonial, Africa is not used to electing its officers. It's not used to electing people who rule them, who govern them. We are used to kings, emirs, obis, and and all of those traditional institutions where the principle of gerontocracy reigns supreme, where a man dies and automatically the son takes over. So democracy in general is alien to our culture. So it is just generally therefore not surprising that today most African leaders are not used to the principles of democracy and democratic practice. However, due to international pressure, a lot of countries in Africa have been democratizing and have been transiting, particularly from military rule to civilian democratic rule. And even after we gained independence from the British government, we went back largely to military rule. Most parts of Africa fell back to military rule. And, which is in line with what we were used to pre-colonial. So it is not surprising, therefore, that a lot of African countries are struggling to be used, to get used to democratic principles in the region. Therefore, this brings me to the issue of internal democracy. So we are bound as a democratizing continent to the principles of internal democracy. What is internal democracy? Internal democracy denotes that the various means of carrying along all party members in internal party decisions, making and other deliberations around election of officers, decision into congresses, primaries, and even appointments into various committees in the party. So, however, this has been a subject of controversy over the years as a result of the fact that we have had the strongman syndrome still persists, even in political parties in Africa. We've had, since 1999 in Nigeria, we've had strong men, being elected into position of authority, and they tend to hijack the political party structure because they now have the yam and the knife, particularly Mr. President or the governors or the ministers, depending on who is strong at any particular point in time, which is at variance with the party manifesto, the party constitutions, and of course the conventions and precedents. So these are activities and practices that have undermined internal party democracy in Africa. Ordinarily, internal party democracy connotes that the party has a constitution. The party has laid down rules and regulations. The party has convention and practices. The party has, what I would call a manual of, practices of how do we arrange ourselves, how do we organize ourselves. But all these years, due to the strongman syndrome, some of these things have never been allowed to take shape. And it has also weakened the kind of government we practice in Africa, because whatever happens within the party automatically translates into what happens in government. So if a party does not have internal democracy, you should also be rest assured that whatever they throw out and the citizens also gullibly accept it, that is what they also transfer into the practice of government.
Now, I see, Taiwo, that this is actually impacting on what you and your team are doing at the Policy House, because now you've said if internal democracy is not right, ultimately nations actually will not be on the right path, which ultimately will not look good when you try to make some analysis of development in these African countries, especially now we're talking about Nigeria. But again, going back to internal democracy, you have highlighted, taking us back history, saying it looks alien to some Africans, knowing full well that they've always had monarchical, rule. But what do you have to say, knowing full well that democracy has been, in play in most of these countries, especially in Nigeria? Look at the First Republic. Some of the bickerings that many noticed in the First Republic in Nigeria weren't internal wranglings as we have seen now in today's Nigeria. is the Nigerian political circle, convincing enough to reenact the wheel as seen first in the First Republic in Nigeria?
Yes, Sulaiman, going back to history, you will recall that part of the factors that led to the fall of the First Republic in Nigeria was the internal political schisms and crises that engulfed the action group in Western Nigeria. You would call the crisis between Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Akintola and all of those issues that led to, the crisis that also led to the removal of the premier, the removal of Obafemi Awolowo and his final detention and all of that. You see, the practice, because Obafemi Awolowo had left as premier of the Western region and he was now the leader of opposition at the federal level. But he still wanted to, as the natural leader of the party, a lot of people still, owe him allegiance. And of course, there's now a new premier, in the person of Akintola, who says that he is supposed to now be the leader of the party in the region. But of course, you will recall that because of the court followership of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a lot of people still felt, their loyalty to him. Of course, this caused a lot of internal crisis. And of course, the federal government had to take sides under Tafa Balewa. And of course, we all know the crisis that led to the Operation Wet here, the 1966 coup, and all of that. Then, coming back to Second Republic, we also discovered that there was a lot of crisis, even in the NPN, between, Adisa Akinloye, who was the national chairman of the party then, and of course, so many ministers like Umaru Duku, who was very powerful as a minister. So the issue was, who do we take instruction from? Is it the president who is now an elected president of Nigeria and is now the commander-in-chief, or the party chairman who is supposed to be the supreme leader of the party? And that accounts for why, when Obasanjo came on board in 1999, he decided to be the alter ego of the PDP, ruling both as president of Nigeria and also the leader of the party. And that also accounted for why the PDP also had to make it not a constitutional order, but like a precedent or like an order undocumented that the governor and the president will be the leader of the party, even though it's alien to the PDP constitution. And that accounts for why when you see a governor being elected, before his election, he will go cap in hand, begging party leaders to get him nominated, get him elected, and everybody come together to get this governor elected. But the moment the governor becomes a governor and is sworn in, they automatically become. You can see the contradiction in our African democratic system.
Absolutely, Taiwo. Just let me jump in here because I'm happy that you got to that contradictory note. Because first, the one who is so elected initially, prior to election, will run to the people who have the power. But as soon as he gets elected, it seems as if the power is being transferred or hijacked, by that who is elected from the people. How can the people continue to understand that they still hold the ace and they can also, sort of mend whatever is broken internally within their party?
So it's about supremacy of the Constitution. The members of the party need to know that this is a gathering of everybody from different political ideology and leaning. So the only thing that binds them is the rule of law. The only thing that can bring everybody into the same platform on equal basis is the constitution of the party. And that accounts for why the constitution is so sacrosanct, so important, because it spells out the functions of the National Working Committee, it spells out the functions and responsibility of the Board of Trustees, it spells out the function of the State Working Committee, the State Executive Council, and of course, the General Assembly. So when the General Assembly's functions are usurped by the State Working Committee, if the State Working Committee functions are usurped by the State Executive Council, then automatically it also boils down to what is the role of the Board of Trustees. A situation whereby if Mr. President is not seated, the Board of Trustees cannot meet, National Executive Committee cannot meet, decisions cannot be taken, even by elected officers of the party, without the input of Mr. President and the governors, as the case may be. And then it continues to erode the function and the supremacy of the party itself, and of course it undermines the constitution of the party. But there are Supreme Court decisions that tend to validate the supremacy of the constitution of the party. We have the case of Rotimi Amechi in Rivers State, where his primaries was manipulated by the National Working Committee of the party. And the Supreme Court ruled that no, you have to follow the Constitution. This case of Ngige, the Hospital Obi, and so many other cases in Nigeria shows very clearly that the Constitution of the party is supreme. And the members that constitute each political party needs to understand that they have the power as enshrined in those party constitutions, that as members of the General Assembly, they have the right to remove, vote, and of course, sanction members of the party who have been elected into the State Working Committee, and of course, elected members of the party. I remember in Second Republic, Sulaiman, where under UPN, when Chief Obafemi Awolowo is presiding over the National Working Committee, over the Board of Trustees of the party, governors didn't have anything to say. In fact, I remember the case of party meetings in Afreriwane's residence in Warri those days, where governors will be made to account for their manifesto, will be made to account for the budget they have presented to the public in the year preceding the meeting. What is your performance in the education sector? What is your performance in the health sector? So that we will also go back to our constitution to tell them that this is what the governor has done. But in recent times, we can see that it is now the governors who preside over the party, over party meetings, whereby elected officers and even the Board of Trustee members don't have a say anymore. This is quite eroding the supremacy of the party. It's eroding the principles and, of course, the concept of internal party democracy, because it is now a case of elected officials hijacking the functions and the supremacy of the party, which is the fulcrum, the root of the party itself. And that accounts for why when the governors don't support a particular candidate for primaries in a party, you see that it is the so-called endorsed candidates or the governor's candidates that win the elections, even though they may not be popular, because the governor has the power of finance. He also has the power of being, quote and unquote, the leader of the constitution of the party in that state, or at the national level, the president. So everybody tends to see, where is the governor going? Where is the governor pandering to? Where is Mr. President pandering to? Even though the contrary is supposed to be the case, it is where the party is pandering to. It is the popular will of the people that should actually produce the candidates of the party, that should actually produce the elected officers of the party. But everybody now pander towards the whims and caprices of elected officers, particularly with Mr. President and the governors. This is undermining internal democracy in Nigeria, and it also erodes the functions of each organ of the party as enshrined in the party constitution itself. And of course, there are conventions and precedents that should be followed. And this is affecting the conduct of congresses, it's affecting the conduct of primaries, it's affecting the selection of committee members, it's affecting even the process of appointing the members of the cabinet in the state, where the governor can just on his own sit down and form a cabinet without reverting back or consulting the party. Ordinarily, the party ought to sit down at various organs like Board of Trustees, National Working Committee, and deliberate and nominate and submit a list to Mr. President that these are people who are members of the party, who have worked, they are competent, we have trained them, and we feel that these people should constitute members of your cabinet. But in recent time, the last few years, we have seen that it is the president, whoever has been elected as governor, that normally now do some of those functions. So for me, it's a violation of internal party democracy. It's not just about conducting Congress, it's not just about primaries, even in the whole gamut of decision making. The party has functions, the party is supreme, the members of the party have a whole lot of role to play. We can go about quoting Karl Marx, Aristotle, Professor Julius Nyerere, Claude Ake, and all those principles and theories that govern internal party democracy in Nigeria. But what we have seen in Nigeria in recent times is that internal party democracy has been hijacked. Internal party democracy is not functioning, it's inchoate, it's ineffectual, it's ineffective, and it's not actually being promoted to actually deepen and strengthen democratic principles and practice.
Yeah, before we start talking about what Nigerians, Africans should do to reverse the trend, you said something about some of these elected officers becoming powerful, and also maybe because they are the financiers of the political parties. Tell us how it operates at the moment in some Nigerian political parties. How is funding like? Because we see a lot of members, and it will seem as if these members are actually financial members, so to speak, then they should be able to also rein in some of these officials that have been elected or chosen or selected by them?
Yes, Sulaiman, I'm partisan because I'm a member of a political party, and I have been a member of a caucus of a political party. I've been a member of the State Executive Council, and I understand how these things work. The truth of the matter is that the dues, the party constitution makes provision for payment of dues. In fact, for you to sustain your membership of a party, you must pay your annual dues. It's either you spread it over time, like on a monthly basis, or you pay lump sum lump sum per annum. But Suleiman, you agree with me that most people don't even pay their dues to the party, and these parties are suffering from financial malfunctioning. They are not viable financially, and that accounts for why they depend mostly on the donations by party officials who have been elected into public office. And that account, of course, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if he who pays the piper dictates the tune, it's also a reflection of why they have a very important role to play in decision making. A governor, most of the governors fund their parties. The ministers also donate. The House of Rep members, House of Assembly, they donate. And that accounts for why they have very significant role to play in decision making. However, if the political parties are very well structured, and they drive for internal fundraising, and they make it important and let people understand that with your 5,000 naira that you pay on an annual basis, you have a role to play. Your voice is critical, and we will consult with you. We will invite you for meetings. You have important role to play. Everybody will understand that consciousness is lacking. That enlightenment is also lacking, and that orientation that they have in thought that there's a linkage between your financial contribution and your voice. People will not understand that the role they play their contribution financially is key towards making their voice heard. And party members are very many. They are significant. They run into millions. You can imagine if 5 million people pay 5,000 naira to a political party, or 500,000 people pay 2,000 naira to a political party. There's no governor, no matter how influential that governor is, that can influence, the decision of the General Assembly, influence the decision of State Executive Council, influence the decision of State Working Committee, and of course, up to National Working Committee members. So the ordinary members of the party are not just ordinary, but their importance and relevance and significance is linked to their financial contribution and, of course, their intelligent contribution. Most people don't even know that as a member of a political party, you are entitled to attend their quarterly meetings, you are entitled to send in your public opinion to the chairman or whoever is the ward chairman, whoever is your state chairman. All these things aggregate together, constitute the voice of the people. But this is lacking generally because everybody now looks up to whoever has been elected as a House of Rep member or a senator to fund the party. So which ordinarily now reduces the value of the ordinary member of the party, which is very, very unfortunate.
Listening to you, Taiwo, something comes top. It looks like there's a gap, and that has to do with information, that has to do with awareness, that has to do with knowledge. How much of, knowledge, sharing and enlightenment are the political parties giving to their members, especially around the grassroots, so that these people can understand what internal democracy is about and how to also strengthen same?
Suleiman, the truth is that political parties are not supposed to be special purpose vehicles just for elections. In other parts of the world, we have seen political parties even establishing institutes, learning institutes, research institutes, organizing seminars and programs and colloquiums to discuss security issues, infrastructure, discuss manifesto, the performance of the party, reviewing, the performance of even the elected officers. But in Africa, particularly in Sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria in particular, we have seen that parties are only being used for the conduct of elections. And this is not helping to entrench the principles and the principles and the objectives of even establishing those parties ab initio. A party is not just supposed to wait for every 4 years for them to sell nomination forms. We're supposed to set up a Democratic Institute or Republican Institute equivalent by the PDP and APC, for instance, where on a quarterly basis they invite key officers They invite ordinary members of the party to come and listen to professors, intellectuals, scholars on how to conduct themselves as party members and how to hold government accountable, how to conduct yourself even in terms of primaries, congresses, and all of those things, how to be security conscious. But all of these are lacking in the Nigerian political space. And the Nigerian political parties don't even understand that there's need for them to entrench themselves, train their members on how to be responsible citizens, how to be security conscious, how to hold government accountable, how to be a scholar, how to even understand what your party stands for. Sulaiman, majority, hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, majority, 70% of party members who subscribe to membership of political parties don't understand that political parties are not just primarily for electing people into office, that it goes beyond that. But when you elect, executive members who don't even understand the role of political parties, how do you get them to organize programs, seminars, training, capacity building for their members? So all of this boils down to orientation. All of this boils down to enlightenment and, of course, understanding the constitution of the party. When you look at some section of the APC manifesto, they talked about generating employment of about 3 million per annum, talking about infrastructure. But many of the people that have been elected under the platform of the APC don't even understand the manifesto of the party. They were not properly schooled. They didn't go for They didn't go for orientation. They were just elected, and at the end of it, they were sworn in, and they are carrying out the agenda. They are not translating the manifesto of their party into reality. The same goes for PDP, ABGA, and all of those other parties, because everybody is just waiting for the period when, nomination forms will start selling, everybody contribute their 500,000, they buy the nomination form, they go to INEC for screening, and at the end, they don't go back to understand what the manifesto of the party stands for. And there's no, the maximum they do is 1 day seminar or 2 days, 2 days orientation, and that's all. But 2 days, 1 day is not enough for you to teach and train elected officers of your party the manifesto, so that when they get to the National Assembly, when the governors are sworn in, they will understand that this is what the party stands for. This is the principle the party stands. This is the objective. This is what we intend to achieve in the next 1 year, in the next 6 months. All those things are lacking. So there's a lot of things to do beyond just conducting congresses, beyond just conducting primaries. The political parties have a lot of role to play. And if the political parties are able to train their members on their manifesto, they train their members on their, on their objectives and their goals and what they intend to achieve, their performance indicators, you understand that it has serious implications on even the quality of governance, the quality of, the quality of life of the people that have voted these people into office, because the knowledge gap is very heavy. And until that knowledge gap is bridged between what the political parties throw out and what the elected officers are implementing, then we'll have a long way to go.
Taiwo, before I go to Gbadebo Rhodes, I want to ask you, because there's this conversation around Nigeria, and it has to do with Nigerian youth, and to bring them on board, politically speaking. And you have also been noted to have gone round, to be going around Nigeria, talking to some young people. I think the last time news saw you was at the Premier University of Ibadan, where you spoke to a group of political students. Tell us the kind of conversation Nigeria should be having with these young Africans as the conversation to building a viral internal democracy hearts up.
Sulaiman, thank you very much. It's sad and unfortunate that African young people did better. The performance of young people in Africa was far better off in the 40s and 50s than it is right now politically in the 21st century. Most of the people that took over from the British when Africa was being decolonized, particularly in Nigeria, Ghana, and other British colonial regimes, were young people in their 20s. Talk of Antonio Naoro was just about 20-something. So many of those guys were in their 20s. There was high political consciousness, despite the low technology penetration. But unfortunately, 40, 50 years down the line, you can see that most of our young people have shown apathy towards political participation. And you will not also blame them because they've not seen results, even in the few of them that have tried to participate in the political process of Africa. But that should not discourage them because right now, in view of the reform that INEC is carrying out towards electoral reform, towards e-transmission of results, internal democracy is being strengthened, young people have a role to play, very significant role to play. With the deployment of technology right now, it will be difficult for people to rig elections, particularly in Nigeria. So I'm going around to say, guys, let us be strong. Let us have that confidence that our democracy is going to work. And that if you guys don't participate actively, then what we are complaining of as young people will continue to ruin us economically, socially, and otherwise. You cannot afford to be on the back bench. So what we are telling them is that with what the National Assembly has done, with the electronic transmission of results, with the PVC now being deployed, with technology where you can send text message on what is happening in your unit, with artificial intelligence, and even with the not too young to run bill that has been passed, where young people can even aspire to become president of this country, there's no reason why our young people should not come out and participate, particularly in 2023. But before then, they must participate in the internal democracy of the political parties, which is the subject.
Just let me cut you there. Sorry, I'll come back to you, Taiwo, because now it's getting more interesting. Now you said something about the not too young to run, act. Let me quickly bring in someone who's a big beneficiary of that, in the last election, and that's Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour. Gbadebo, good to have you on the show, and I'm happy Taiwo, who is also a political scientist and a politician, has been able to unwrap, the issues around Nigeria's internal democracy. He's also said that many young Nigerians have the opportunity to participate and go beyond just, being members of rallies, but get, their hands dirty, so to speak, in Nigeria's politics. Let me ask you, is the Nigerian political circle convincing enough for young people like yourself, Gbadebo, to come in en masse, especially as the country prepares for the next election in 2023?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gbadebo.
Okay, I believe that power is ours for the taking. They say that we're the future. Hello?
Well, there seems to be a glitch in your audio connection. I don't. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
It's better now. Go ahead.
Okay. You said that at the present, and as soon as we rise to responsibility of participating in elections, participating in politics, understanding that it is our right to decide who represents us and who decides of the allocation of resources to and why. As soon as we decide that it's our time to do that, you'll find that we'll change the entire process and how things work. Unfortunately, because there's been such total apathy, politicians don't even take their work seriously because there's no feedback. Right? You just have to vote and can do it nothing or being mediocre. The more people participate in politics, the more that change. So I'm very excited for the future, especially with all the new technology, new innovation that our system. And I hope that is consistently in 2020. And I look forward to the youth participation in the next election.
Let me bring in Taiwo here quickly, and I hope he was able to, I can see you, Taiwo, at last. Well, it's good to see you. Well, Gbadebo said something. He's been able to share his enthusiasm with us and his hope and his excitement, especially with what we have witnessed in Nigeria, especially with INEC, a transmission of results electronically. Tell us what this would mean for Nigeria's democracy, going forward.
Sulaiman, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Taiwo, go ahead.
Okay. So the reforms that are being executed to deepen democracy is very encouraging. And with the enthusiasm and passion and commitment that has been demonstrated by INEC, that they can actually implement some of these technology-driven reforms, is very exciting. And it's a good omen for young people, because young people now, they are technological savvy. They are excited that they can sit in the comfort of their homes and monitor transmission of results, and they now have confidence that when they vote, their vote will count. So for me, you will see that the proportion of young people that participate in election and electioneering and even the voting proper is going to grow significantly in the next election. By 2023, you're going to see more young people coming out, not just to run, but also to vote. And they will be rest assured and confident that their vote will count, because as they are voting, it is counting immediately. And it is also being transmitted immediately to wherever it's supposed to be sent to. So the idea of hijacking ballot boxes, the idea of people changing results midway is not going to work anymore. And this is a good omen for Africa's democracy. It shows that Nigeria is actually now the pivot, as actually predicted many years ago, that Nigeria should be the pivot of African democratic renaissance. And with INEC showing resilience, and with the National Assembly now reversing itself, particularly the Senate, now reversing itself, that you can actually now transmit results, combined with the not too young to run bill, combined with so many technology innovation that is being introduced, I can assure you that young people are now more excited, they are now more confident that their vote will count. And this is good for Nigeria.
Again, I go back to your conversation with students at the prestigious University of Ibadan here in Nigeria, because you must have also noticed that you have a huge number of Nigerian youth on the social media having conversations about Nigeria and politics, in comparison to the actual people you met in the hall when you spoke to them. So how can that number, of people, virtually online, social media, especially in Nigeria, be transmitted or transported into real conversations that will amount to a big change, positive change in their different localities?
Yes. Sulaiman, don't undermine the power of social media. The power of social media in social mobilization, in political
Well, I think perhaps we're having a glitch. We're having a glitch now. I'm hoping that if we can do the audio connection conversation with Taiwo, that can actually work better now that this glitch is. Well, for those just joining us, I've been having conversation with Taiwo Akerele, who is the country director of Policy House International, and the conversation is around Nigeria's political parties' democracy, otherwise called internal democracy. And I was having a conversation about Nigerian youth just before that glitch, on how the country can get more of its youth participating actively in its politics. And he was telling us about the importance of social media in political activism in Nigeria. We'll take a moment. When we'll come back, we should be able to connect again with Taiwo Akerele so that we can wrap up this conversation on how to strengthen Nigeria's democracy, especially within the political parties. Stay with us. Well, it's our home run here on VSA, and our conversation is on strengthening Nigeria's internal democracy. And before that glitch, I was speaking with Taiwo Akerele. Good to know he's back. And again, also good to know that Gbadebo is back Let's quickly wrap up on this. Gbadebo, before we lost the connection to you then, Taiwo was speaking about the importance and the power of social media, which is a big tool used by young Nigerians. Tell us how some of these, can be converted into real action, because some, tell us your own side if you agree to the argument of some politicians saying that Nigerian youth are only active in social media, but when it comes to real politics, the numbers don't reflect that which you see in social media.
Yes, I understand that, but I think that argument was laid to rest with the NSAS protest that happened almost a year ago from today. We saw the energy and vibrancy of the youth on ground. We saw how they organized via social media. We saw their demands. We saw educated, organized people that had empathy rally around to demand for better governance. And that's the first step. We must understand that this is a new generation at the verge of changing the current voter demography, which has before now been dominated mainly by the Marcus women, the NURTW, a lot of highly unemployed people. But you're starting to find a lot of educated people, a lot of up-and-coming, upward mobile people getting involved in politics as well, trying to create a sort of not just identity, but ideology as well. And that is being fostered significantly on social media, which is why it's very unfortunate that Nigeria banned spaces like Twitter, for instance. But even with notwithstanding that, you find that there's lots of conversation going on Twitter spaces, on Twitter, and ideological refining. And I believe that with things such as like the electronic transmission of results, with people seeing people that they can relate to step into the arena and getting involved in politics, you find that a lot more people are going to get registered and a lot more people are going to participate. The important thing is that we have young, vibrant people get involved, show leadership, show the way, and I'm certain and confident that a lot of young, vibrant people are also going to get involved as well and participate. One of the reasons for the apathy is the failure of government over and over and over again. We need a new type of politician that's going to come into the fray. We need a new kind of party that will give young people the chance to run and the chance to be at the helm of affairs. And I believe that when people start to see this happening, they will start to trust in the system, trust in the party, and trust in the new type of politician that is coming to the fore.
Taiwo, I'll let you finish up on your, talk on the power of social media in Nigeria politics, and before I come in with the other question. Go ahead, Taiwo.
Okay, so what I essentially did was to show. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so what I did at the University of Ibadan, what we did was to look at the numbers. We looked at the numbers and we discovered, from INEC report, that young people constitute almost 50% of the voting population in Nigeria. So if young people constitute close to 50% of voting population in Nigeria, then what else are we waiting for? Everybody between the ages of 18 and 49 is a youth on the average. So in other words, young people have the strength, the capacity to change or to retain the kind of government they want. And they also have the capacity to sanction the policies of government, to critique and question political party manifestos, and to hold elected officers accountable for the promises they made. So there's no room for apathy. With the availability of technology, with the use of social media, with messaging and WhatsApp, mobilization can be done within 2 to 3 minutes, and people can gather and effect change in their society. And that accounts for why young people are no longer sitting on the back door to say, concern me. Sorry to use that word. There is no more room for, it does not concern me. That syndrome is gone. And at the University of Ibadan, there was an agreement, there was a consensus that it is time for everybody to stand up, particularly the young people, and have a say and a stake in the future of this country. Because young people are exposed, they know the importance of government, they know the importance of innovation technology, they know the importance of artificial intelligence, they know the importance of infrastructure, even to their own well-being and quality of life. So they are not just going to sit back and allow non-entities or people who don't have ideology or manifesto, clearly written and documented manifesto, to win elections anymore. And beyond just participating in election, they have also shown interest in participating in the internal processes of political parties. Even in the primaries, who becomes the candidate of each party is now a subject of discourse among young people in all the platforms. Everybody wants to participate in the political party processes, the primaries, even before the general election. So before we even get to general election, the young people they have done their due diligence, and they've come up with young people who are going to represent them. So that when they get there, they understand that it's just a matter of translating the manifesto of the political party's platform into reality for Nigerians, economically, socially, and otherwise. So with what is happening now in the last 6 months and up towards the primaries of each political party next June or thereabout, there's a lot of consciousness and movement going around very peacefully, impactfully, with the use of technology. Everybody is now consciously being mobilized to participate actively. They're not just going to wait for election day, but they are going to participate in the entire process. And as the Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour said, with the successful execution and implementation of the NSAS movement, where the federal government had no option than to ban SARS, the police unit that was reputed for being brutal and anti-people, it also shows that the young people can take that towards ensuring that only quality people rule this country. People that will take Nigeria to the next level in terms of economic development, in terms of international competitiveness, in terms of economic growth and quality of life. And all of this starts within the internal political party system and processes of the political parties that have been duly registered.
Let's see if we can actually. Sorry to cut you there, Taiwo. Let's see if we can wrap this up now quickly. Let me start with Gbadebo here. Gbadebo, I recall leading up to the 2019 election, I had that sit-down conversation with you on how best to get more young Nigerians get into politics. Listening to Taiwo and yourself today, it would seem as if, there is a work in progress and there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. This tunnel now will be 2023. What are Nigerians likely to see in the coming election?
Well, there's been good news especially with the passing of the bill that allows for results to be electronically transmitted from the polling units. I was part of the campaign council for the Ondo elections, and we collated our results off the INEC server. So I know the power of this technology. It limits a lot of fraud, electoral fraud that normally happens. So this will deepen our democracy and bring a lot more trust into the system. Another beautiful thing that I've seen since 2016 is the increase in the number of people that are getting registered, especially young people. And the good thing as well is the more young people see vibrant young people getting into politics, the more excited they are, the more they feel they have a stake and a say in this democracy. We saw how the NSAS sort of snowballed because young people got involved. And then you're seeing someone that's your age, someone that has the same plight, the same concerns as you, and you also feel this is also my fight, so you get involved. The more we see young, vibrant faces running in political parties, running for offices, the more you start to find people in their age, people that can relate to them, start feeling they have a stake in this battle, this fight, or this process that we call democracy. And I believe that with the way people have seen the country in the last 6 years, they understand now that you cannot Niger-proof yourself. Nigeria will get you. You cannot innovate your way out of bad policy. Bad policy will find you. So you must ensure that the people that are making these decisions, the people that are incurring debt on your behalf that you're going to pay for indirectly or directly, are people that have empathy, capacity, and the vision to move this country forward. And it's our time, right? Because we make up the majority in the population, and we must have a say. Because those debts, everything is going to be paid by the working class and the working population, right? So it's time to get involved, and we're going to see a lot of that going into 2020.
That's a fine one. It's time to get involved, and Nigerians and Nigeria are likely to see all of that happen in 2023. I'd like to thank you, Gbadebo Rhodes, and of course, Taiwo Akerele, for your time. Two great young Nigerians who have been in politics, still in politics, speaking from their personal experiences, forming an opinion and encouraging many other Nigerians and Africans to be a part of the democratic process. We here on VSA would like to apologize to our viewers. Two other guests that should have joined the show today. All Progressives Congress, Jide Adediran, who's a convener, Lagos for Lagos Movement, and Fuad Oki, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress. Just close to the show time, were not able to make it and join us. We hope that they'll be able to find time to come on the show, because some of the conversations, Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, Osun, Ogun, Bauchi, Kano, Kwara, and Niger states all held parallel state congresses over the weekend. And that is why these people must be here to tell us what they think about internal democracy. I'm Sulaiman. Many thanks for watching. I'll be here again. See you. Bye-bye.